Yes guys, just a quick one, creating shapes with a curved mag. So I'm gliding on and off the skin, and there's a lot of angles coming into play here to create all these shapes. So as I'm curving round, I'm gliding essentially in and out the skin, and I'm allowing the needle to follow the shape. So when you're getting tight into corners, I can angle my machine in different directions to really create those solid shapes. But I'm still doing this in a shaded method. I'm not creating lines with this here. It's not using it as a liner. What I'm doing is I'm mapping shapes out. So it's going to be a series of back and forth in a pendulum like method, and also a series of small tightly knit circles moving along the shapes. What you need to ensure when you're doing this is your angles are correct to get the ink into the skin, but also you need to ensure you're reading the pressure. So as I'm gliding on and off the skin, I'm ensuring that I'm manipulating the pressure to best suit what I'm doing. So you can notice as I'm uptight here, I'm creating a really narrow path onto the skin, and then as it curves round to this shape, where my needle's direction changes, it's creating a wider path, creating this shape into the skin. Where I'm creating these narrower paths here, I'm going to be using the needle horizontal, but it's still back and forth. The movement's really subtle. So I'm letting the needle glide in and out the skin. To really develop this and be able to manoeuvre about with your needle, it does require a bit of time and practice. But once you're able to do this, you're able to tattoo so much more efficiently, because you're not having to swap to lining needles to create these awkward shapes. Instead, you can tackle them with your mags. When you do this, you create a nicer finish too. So it's almost more shaded sections rather than solid lined shapes. So around there, when I was tight into this left corner, I'm almost creating a circular motion. As it swings round, I'm turning my needle diagonal so it's not too thick when it comes round here. Again, gliding on and off the skin. So I'm going to shade this back towards myself so I don't put my machine in the way. Again, forward stroke, gently developing this section, and then as it curves round into that tight spot, I'm using my needle on its thinnest part. It's really subtle adjustments, but as I'm doing this, I'm always manipulating the angle. I'm always manipulating the angles of the machine. So if you watch with this one, rather than going back and forth, I'm going to tackle this in a really small circular motion, but it's controlled. I'm not ramming the needle. So I'm going to go tight into this top bit, start with my small circular motion and then sweep round. You can see these shapes going in nice and solid as well. Where I need them to feather out more, if I need them more subtle, I can come down my ink pots into a lighter saturation, or what I can do is less harsh passes, so I'm feathering the ink in more gently rather than going direct and saturating fully. If I show you again here guys, because these are quite tricky shapes, back and forth horizontally in a pendulum like stroke. Sometimes I'll come off the skin and then develop back into it, so I'll test and adjust, maybe change the position of my hands. I'm always maintaining that skin stretch though. You can see here I've developed out of there in a circular motion and then swung the shading round to connect there. Lots of this stuff, guys, it's going in as kind of a first mapping layer, so all of these shapes, they've got developed shading going in afterwards. So once you've done the mapping, I'll be developing these shapes out and creating contrast through my shading. Give that a go, guys. I've been using a 9 curved mag. I've got my needle depth quite severe, so I'm showing a good few millimetres of my needle, around 3mm. So I know that I've got to be careful with that needle tip to not ram it too deep. What I am doing is I'm consistently floating the needle, manipulating my angles to get in these sections.